Okay, good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, the Chumash of today, we are holding in the middle of the Karbanis that they were brought on Yom Kippur, the Avodah of the Kohen Gadol, the service of the Kohen Gadol, which is on chapter 16, the book of Leviticus, chapter 16, verse number 18. And then he goes out to the altar, Hashem, before God, and he comes and brings forgiveness upon this altar. And then he takes from the blood of the bull, and from the blood of the goat, and he puts it on the corners of the altar, saviv around it. Now she says, this is the golden altar. We're not talking about the altar that was outside. We're talking about the golden altar that was inside the inside the Mishkan, inside the Beis Hamikdash. And it was when the Heichal was equivalent to the holy of in the Mishkan. And since the Kohen Gadol was to remain inside the holy for the next procedure, what does the Torah mean to say he shall go out? Since he had just performed the blood sprinkling on the divine curtain, standing on the inside of the altar, so he's there already, between the altar and divine curtain. For the application of the altar requires him to go out, the outer of the altar, and go begin in the northeastern corner. And that's what the pasuk was to teach us. Not that he starts, even though he's already inside already, he doesn't start on the side of the altar, it's facing the curtain. He actually goes out, so to say. He doesn't go out of the building. He goes out of the Mizbeach, he goes on the other side, and he starts to sprinkle on the other side. The chipar. And what is the procedure? What does it affect atonement? And the verse continues, you shall make some of the bull's blood and some of the goat's blood. One mingled with the other. So that's the blood he put on this altar. Verse 19. He shall sprinkle some blood upon it with his index finger. Sheva upon him 7 times. He brings purity upon it. Bikitshay in holiness, mitumas from the uncleanliness of the Jewish nation. Now she says, after he had applied the blood with his index finger on its horns, he shall then sprinkle 7 sprinkles on top of the altar itself. Now she says, from this defilement that occurred in the past. Again, if by mistake anybody brought upon this altar, went into the Kohen, went into the Beis Hamikdash impure. Bikitshay, for the future, according to the Mizrahi, this means that now the altar has been purified from the past defilements, and care would be taken not to defile it for now pure altar. Maskalova explains that after the altar was cleansed from its previous defilement, it had been rectified for future use. The Kohen Gadol would affect. I've explained that the cleanse of the defilement he would sanctify the future use. Okay. And he finished effecting the atonement of the holy. And the tent of meeting. And also the altar. And then he brings the live goat. And put both of his hands forcibly upon this goat. The living goat. He comes and asks forgiveness. He confesses on all on all the sins of the Jewish people, and their rebelliousness, to all their unintentional sins. And he puts all this upon the head of this goat. And he sends it to the desert. He sends it with a timely man. What does it mean, a timely man? So Rashi says, this is a person that has been prepared for this job. They prepared this guy for the job. He had to be pure. He also had to walk for many miles. So this guy had to be ready for this job because it's Yom Kippur and he had to walk a couple of miles to this place and to do this job. And then he takes the guy takes the he-goat and he carries upon it all the sins of the Jewish people. To a precipitous land, a harsh land, and he sends off the he-goat into the desert. Then it comes back to the tent of meeting. Ufash's big that body takes off the linen garments. Ashalabash, the Kodesh. what he wore when he came into the holy. And he puts him out there. Now she says, again, this is a very difficult consequence. The verses are going back and forth and back and forth. And therefore, Rashi is going to tell you something the Gemara says, but really you need to learn it clearly in the Gemara to understand the sequence of events. A rabbi stated in the Gemara, in Yuma, that this is not the correct chronological place for this verse. And they gave the reason for this tractate of Yuma. You got to learn the Yuma over there in that tractate that deals with the law of this day, Yom Kippur. As it said, and they said the whole passage is incorrect chronologically order, except for this entry. For the following because this followed the performance of his burnt offering and the people's burnt offering. So therefore, this the above Va'arin is not the right place chronologically. But we know the Torah is not in chronological order, as we know. That has already been established a long time ago. And the burning of the sacrificial pites and the bull and the he-goat, which performance outside the Holy of Holies, the Kohen Gadol attire in golden garments. Then he would immerse himself, sanctify his hands and feet, and remove from his golden garments and don his white garments. So why did he come? What does the verse over here tell us? That he comes to the tent of meeting. He came to the tent, he came back in his white garments to take out the spoon and the pan. He went back into the Holy of Holies, which he had caused incense to go up and smoke, which was laying there from before. And that's the verse over here, really. So it's next verse. This verse comes later. Pasha is big there, but now Rashi is going to tell you exactly the sequence. After he took them, the spoon and the pan, out, he then would don his golden garments. The afternoon Tamid, he would do the last service, the daily burnt offering, sacrifice day every day. The following, therefore, is the earlier order service. Number one, the morning Tamid. That's always the first sacrifice was brought in the golden garments. Then the service involved the bull and the he-goat, which bloods were sprinkled inside the holy, and the incense procedure with the burning coals and the pan that was worn with the white garments. That's the next thing. Then number three, then his ram, the people's ram, and some additional sacrifice of the day that was done in the golden garments. Then he removed this, and then he would put back his white garments. He removed the spoon and this pan in the white garments. That was the previous verse. Then the remainder of the additional sacrifices, the afternoon Tamid, and the incense procedure, the heichal upon the inner altar in the golden garments. Hence, the chronological sequence of the verse corresponds to the chronological order of the service of the as follows. You have verse 22. He shall send off the he-goat to the desert. Verse 24. He shall immerse his flesh. They'll go out to the sacrifice, the burnt offering. Verse 25, the fat sin offering. And then the remainder of this passage, verse 26. And after that, you have to go back to verse 23. And that's the way the Gemara learns it. So this is a sequence, even though in the Torah, it sounds like the sequence is not exactly as we just said it. Now she says, Melamed is teaching us that they require being stored away. That after the Kohen wore this garment today, he had to put it away forever. That's it. He never wore this garment again. He shall not use the four garments for any other Yom Kippur. It was put away. The machlekes in the Gemara, if the regular Kohen could use it, not. And but surely he did not. He wore this garment once a year. It was made for him Yom Kippur, and that was it. And it was put away and was never used again. So the next Yom Kippur, they would have to make him a new garment. But and he washed it. He went to the mikveh again. The Makom Kodesh in a holy place. Then he puts on his clothes. And then he went out and he brought the sacrifice of the day. Now she says from the above verse 4, we have learned that he shall immerse in the water and then don them, that when he changes from the golden garments to the white garments, he's required to immerse himself. From that immersion, he moved the golden garments, which he performed the service of the morning, the Tamid, and subsequently changed into the white garments to perform the service of the day. Here we learned that when he changes from the white garments to the golden garments, he also has to go to the mikveh. So that's how the Gemara figures out that ultimately he went to the mikveh at least 5 times that day. On Yom Kippur, he went 5 times to the mikveh. The Makom HaKodesh, sanctified the degree of holiness in the courtyard, It was on the roof of the chamber of holy temple, the Beis HaParva. There was a mikveh. There's a couple of mikvahs in the Beis HaMikdash, but this was mamish. Beis HaParva was mamish right by the mizbeach, and the altar was up. It was on top of the second floor, except for and there were all 4 immersions were done in that place, except the very first immersion, which was performed in an unsanctified place. That was done by his own personal room, which was on the top of the wall of the Beis HaMikdash. That was done in a place where was, so to say, an unholy place. Not that it was unholy, but it was not part of the Beis HaMikdash because he had to go to the mikveh in the morning before he came to the Beis HaMikdash. So that mikveh was on his near his room where he slept, and he went to the mikveh, and then he came into the Beis HaMikdash. The rest of the 4 other times he went to the mikveh was in the Beis HaMikdash proper, right next to the mizbeach. There was a called Beis HaParva, and he would go. There was a mikveh on the second floor there, and he would go to the mikveh there 4 times. I believe it was only used that mikveh for Yom Kippur of the Kohen Gadol that went to the mikveh 4 times in that mikveh. He would again put on his 8 garments, and that he wore a whole year. He would then go out of the heichel, the courtyard of the altar, the burnt offering that was located. He made the ram and the burnt offering, stated in verse 3. Now, this is the name of the burnt offering, Lamaila, that which you mentioned before in verse 5, and from the community of the Jewish people. That completes the Chumash for today. Going on to the Tanya of the day. We are still holding in chapter 41 of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe goes as follows: no, then if you only have one, if you only do Torah mitzvahs with only one, so to say, with one wing, so to say, forms of commandments alone with love alone, in order to cleave to him with through study of Torah and the performance of his commandments. That's not called a service of a servant. And that, because a servant has to have yira. A servant has to have the concept of fear. And the Torah says you shall serve God. So the word, with the noun of eved, servant, and thus to signify the service motivated by fear and awe of God. And therefore, it's not enough to do service of God only with love of God. We need to be I'm the servant of God. I'm in the service. When you're in the service, then you have commitment. Then you have the concept of responsibility. It's a concept of aspect of fear. I say you shall serve it. I wrote on the Zohar. That just like an ox, on which one first places a yoke, in order to make it useful to the world. So too, a human being, must submit to the yoke of heaven, and only then engage in divine service. He has to have Kabbalah Sel. Kabbalah Sel, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, accept Kabbalah Sel, like an ox takes upon a yoke. A Jew takes upon the yoke of heaven. And if a person doesn't have the basic principle of accepting the yoke of heaven, then he doesn't have holiness impressed upon him. So a person needs to have Ava and needs to have Yira. He needs to have the concept of basic principle of I accept the yoke of heaven. I do what the Eibishter wants to do, what God wants me to do. Whether I love in this moment, I don't. Because I'm committed. I'm committed to the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not about me, it's about the Eibishter. It's about who I'm serving. Ubrahim Mehemna, Sham Daf Kuf Yirala Omer Beis, as brought down in the Zoya, Shekol Adam Tzadil Shtei Bechilas Madregas, that every man must, in his divine service, belong to the 2 categories of levels. And what are those 2 categories? Av and Yira, love and fear. V'milchinas Eved. One category is the category of a servant, one who serves his master, in the concept of respect and fear. And and one who serves the Eibishter as a son who loves his father, loves his parent. And although you may find a son who's also a servant, you cannot come to the degree of a true person who is a son, who maybe has the concept of fear, but even a son has to learn to have fear. Even a son has to learn to have respect of his parents. What does a parent want? That's why there's a mitzvah of Av and Yira for your parents too. Just like there's a concept of Av and Yira to the Eibishter, there's a concept of Av and Yira to your parents. That a person has to love and fear his parents, and respect his parents. Whatever that fear means, respect, honor, be in awe of his parents, etc. Because it's impossible to have true love if you can't respect somebody. You cannot say, I love somebody, but I don't have respect for them. That doesn't work. That shows you don't really love them. You love them on your basis. I love the person on my rules. Not I love them because of them. I love them because of myself. And I'm going to decide how to love them and how not to love them. But if I have respect before I love them, if I'm in awe of them, I respect them. I don't want to use the word fear, whatever. But I understand that I have to respect them, that they're special, they're unique, maybe more better than me. And then I can truly love them. Without the prerequisite, the higher level of fear known as Yirah, as known as not you're afraid. That's why I don't use the word fear. Yiratata, the lower level of fear is the concept of fear. I'm afraid of punishment. But the concept of Yirah is not that I'm afraid that they're going to hurt me or that they're going to do something against it. I simply respect them because I'm in awe of them. I'm in awe of them, or I don't want to break this relationship. And therefore, I respect them. So it's clear from all the above that even if one loves but lacks the fear of God, I don't respect God. If I love God, but I lack respect of him, his spiritual labels will not be the kind of Torah called Avodah. Then you're into yourself. Then I'm into myself. And I'm gonna decide how much I'm gonna love God and how much I'm not gonna love him. Person needs to have Kabbalah Sale. That's why the foundation and of Yiddishkeit is Kabbalah Sale, accepting yoke of heaven. I respect God. God is greater than me. God is smarter than me. God created me. I can use all kinds of words in terms. And therefore, I respect him. Whether I comprehend him, whether I don't comprehend him. Just like my parents. Just like the Torah demands me to love my parents and respect my parents. Whether I comprehend them, whether I don't comprehend them, I respect them. Why? Because my parents created me. I wouldn't be able to complain in my life if it wasn't that my parents created me. I couldn't complain about God if God didn't create me. So therefore, I respect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I respect God. That's the foundation of my life. And now I'm going to truly love him because I respect him. That's why I love him. I love him. And he shouldn't fail his attempts. So at the awakening of fear of God in his heart, he should at least arouse the feeling of fear and awe in his mind. And every one of us can arouse a concept of love, of fear, and awe of God in our mind because we all can comprehend that God is our creator. That completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 14th day of the month, which is chapter 72 to chapter 76. My friends, tomorrow is Yontiv, Baruch Hashem, Yontiv of Pesach, and then the day after. So I hope that you will learn Chitas tomorrow, on Tuesday, and on a Wednesday. And in Mitzshem, we'll come together on Thursday. Bezat Hashem Chalamoid. We'll continue to learn at 8 o'clock the Chitas of the day. I wish you all a wonderful Kosher, Afelech, and Pesach. We should all have a wonderful, happy, and healthy Pesach. And we should all go out of our gullus tonight, Bezat Hashem. We come to eat matzah, mutter, and we should have a moment of liberation, total liberation of guf and nefesh, total body and soul, spirit. And we should all only have happiness and joy in our life. And I hope and I pray that the Eibush takes us ultimately out of this gullus. And we all dance L'Artzeinu Hagdosha to the Holy Land. Bias Mashiach Tzidkeinu, the coming of Mashiach. B'Meheira B'Yameina. Good Yontiv, everybody. God bless.